Hey, thank you for joining me in my excursion of understanding relationships and marriage. Please tell us who you are.
My name is Delilah Dominguez. I'm 31 years old. I currently live in Brooklyn. I'm Puerto Rican and I'm single.
Okay. Thank you for joining me. I know this is a really, and some people call it intense, some people call it overwhelming. I think it's an exploration, right? So I did this with understanding marriage. So I would love to know, what does marriage mean to you?
What does marriage mean to me? It's a good question. Marriage to me,
As the whole entire world
is shaking. The whole world is shaking.
Yes.
Okay, great. Marriage to me, when I think of marriage, I think of what my parents shared, and then I think of it as like a support system, definitely loving one another through thick and thin. And I also think of like the white picket fence and the yard with the dog and baking cookies on a Sunday and like just that warm, fuzzy feeling of love and support, most definitely support.
If you can, you talked about your parents. Can you tell me a little bit more about their relationship and what you learned about marriage through their relationship?
I learned through my parents' relationship that marriage is not easy. When something is broken, you can't just throw it away. Ooh. Oh wow, yeah. You have to fix it. It takes work. And knowing that you can trust someone enough to know that they're not going to give up, that they're going to do the work to fix it.
When you visualize marriage, do you visualize yourself? I guess that's been something you've thought about?
To be quite honest, I haven't thought about marriage until quite recently. Like, working in the floral industry, I've done so many weddings and I've seen it on the other side, like looking in, like, oh, that's so pretty. Like, I wonder what my wedding is gonna be like. And that thought never crossed my mind until like really recent. Like, I'm in my 30s and I'm like, okay, this is kind of the time where you figure out like who it is that you want to spend the rest of your life with, who you want to have kids with, who do you want to build a home with, nonetheless buy a home with. So yeah, definitely now I think it's starting to sink in as like, oh, okay, what comes next? What happens next?
When you visualize that, what are the components that you feel like are important in a marriage?
The components I think that are very important in a marriage.
For you, right? Because you
myself.
spoke earlier about your parents.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about like for you, considering the age you're in, the generation, because this is also a generational research, right? And something I'm kind of digging a little bit deeper in. So for you, as a millennial, as a person who is of this generation, tell me a little bit about what you look for when you look for marriage.
I feel like a good marriage is based off of a good friendship. So I think laying a good foundation, getting to really know someone who's going to support you through your endeavors, someone to make you laugh. You have to be able to laugh. What is a marriage? Some of the components of a marriage. What do I want in a marriage? Jenny, ooh, girl, dang. I can't tell you like what the components are, but I can tell you how I want to feel.
So tell me how you want to feel.
I want to feel safe. I want to feel loved. I want to feel supported. Trusted. I want to be able to trust someone else. Wow. Same faith. important. Oh, I really hate you right now. Like, oh wow, you brought a lot up.
So talk to me a little bit about faith.
Faith is very important because if we're not on the same page when it comes to, and I don't mean like religious beliefs, I mean like knowing that there's something greater than this and just believing in a little bit of magic is important. Especially like when it comes to like, what are you gonna tell your kids? Like, how are you gonna raise your kids if you and your partner have two different belief systems? So I don't think that there's no reason why it couldn't be incorporated, but I think in my past experience, it's really important to be on the same page when it comes to that.
So having a connection.
Yeah, having a connection.
So, when was the last time you felt a connection with someone?
The last time I felt a connection with someone. We talking like true, authentic, raw connection? A few years ago.
Tell me about the moment you knew.
Ooh, that was scary. It was like electricity. It was terrifying. It felt like home. Like, I knew it wasn't easy, but it was easy to be me. So that was nice.
Do you look for that now?
Yes, I do. And that's hard to find. I think that's like especially hard to find when you don't necessarily know.
It's okay.
When you don't necessarily know who you are or who you want to be.
Do you feel like this generation makes it easy?
No, not at all. I feel like everyone's pretending to be something that they're not. No one's genuine. Everyone's afraid of being vulnerable.
I'm glad you said that because that was the word that kept coming into my mind.
This is so, I've never been this vulnerable. This is terrifying. And I am so ugly crying right now, this is not even cute.
So tell me about vulnerability.
I think a lot of vulnerability has to do with being accepted and not being judged or, most importantly, feeling safe. Because obviously if you don't feel safe with someone, you're not going to be as vulnerable. It's going to be very difficult to open up. And that's really hard because, let's face it, nobody's a mind reader. They can't tell what you're experiencing. You can't tell what they're experiencing. And like you told me before, you don't know what you don't know. So you have to ask questions. You have to be patient. You have to be compassionate. I love that word. It's my new word for 2021. Compassionate. And you have, I think patience and vulnerability comes hand in hand, or goes hand in hand. You can't rush it, and one doesn't go without the other.
Now, looking at the generation that we have currently, do you find that marriage is easy?
No.
Do you find that, like, saying to someone, I vow to be with you for the rest of my life, and anything that you do, I am there. I am your support. I am your sister.
No, I don't think, maybe my generation kind of sees it that way, but I don't think younger generations see it that way. Especially with social media, I think there's always the idea of like, there's something better. Like, oh, if you're not going to treat me this way, then I'm going to find the next man who will. Or if you're not going to give me what I want, I'm going to find this somewhere else. Which I think is like a little dangerous because honestly, the grass is greener where you water it. Like, you have to be willing to build with someone if you want it to last. You can't just like throw in the towel and be like, well, this didn't work, so I'm going to go somewhere else. Willing to accept someone's flaws. Nobody's perfect. I'm pretty sure you're gonna be dating people who are like different than you are, see things differently, experience things differently. You have to be open to that. And I try to tell my nieces and nephews about that all the time, but it's like Tinder's so easy, swipe, swipe, swipe. Hinge is so easy, swipe, swipe, swipe. Bumble, like, stop swiping. Get to know someone. Ask questions. Like,
if you could give yourself some advice, let's say you look back at this 5 years from now, what would be something that you think would be valuable that you know now that you may forget?
What I know now that I may forget, or that would be valuable, you're doing the best you can. Be kinder to yourself. For sure.
Is there a time in which you felt like you didn't want to be married, but that idea was too difficult for you to understand?
Yeah.
What stopped? Like, what has changed? Like, what made you get there, and then what has changed?
There was times within my parents' relationship where like I seen things that they experienced and went through that I was just like, I don't think I could do that. Like, I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to experience that. But that's not a very realistic thing to say, because I feel like everybody has their issues. And then also, like, I hate to say it, but the idea of like I can do it on my own thing. Like, I don't need anyone's help, which is also kind of dumb, because it's not about like needing someone else's help. It's about like accepting someone else's love, someone else's support, like allowing people to be there for you and love you.
How would it feel like if you had that?
Oh my God, I'm working on it now. It's so hard. It's so hard to like just allow people to help. I'm so used to doing things on my own, by myself, my way, that when someone wants to help, I'm like, why? Or like, don't do that, you're doing it wrong. Or like, in relationships when people, I don't want to say when men are nice to me, when they're present, when they listen, when they are paying attention to like all the details that I don't expect them to, that's nice. Or like being supported and being loved, that's a nice feeling. But allowing someone that close and like being vulnerable is hard, but I'm trying.
What is love?
Love is wanting more for someone else than you want for yourself. And I think that's very true.
Well, thank you for sharing your time and your vulnerability, because that is hard.
Oh yeah, that was hard.
But I appreciate you, because I know it takes a lot to do that, to be vulnerable, to be that open. So thank you.
Anytime. You're very welcome.